Well, thank you all for being here today. We just finished a roundtable discussion to talk about the positive impacts that LNG has on our community right here in Port Arthur. And let me reiterate, positive impacts. We heard from Golden Pass LNG and Port Arthur LNG, both in my congressional district, and we heard from Cheniere LNG in Louisiana, that other foreign country I tell mad. We also heard from some of the folks behind me, quite frankly. They're the ones who are watching how the investments at the LNG facilities play a huge role right here in Port Arthur and the entire state of Texas, for that matter. And we heard how many jobs that these three facilities created for Texas and continue to create, quite frankly, going forward. So think about it. 10 years ago, Port Arthur didn't look like it does now. And that is because of the investments, the businesses, and the industry coming into Port Arthur. The mayor talked about them. The speaker talked about them. Those industries are coming into Port Arthur because they see the potential. I always argue that the Southeast Texas is the best energy capital of the world, bar none. Just look around. Talk to the folks in the community. You don't have to take my word for it. Go out and see the inhabitants of this community and everything that's happening. We heard from the folks at the Port of Port Arthur. We heard from the Sabine pilots. We heard from the Sabine Holding Group and the Sabine Passport Authority about the importance of exporting our oil and gas and exactly how they do that and what it means to this very community. And most importantly, as we stand here at Lamar State College, and I want to add a personal note, my father-in-law graduated from Lamar Institute of Technology, I think in 1954, way back in the day. So we stand here at the college, and we heard from the Dean of the Academic and Technical Program, who is building up our workforce. They're teaching students what to do in this industry. They actually have an industrial group that sits down with the educators and makes them aware of their needs. Port Arthur sometimes feels like our little secret from the rest of the country. Quite frankly, I'm okay with that while it's exploding and getting bigger and better, and we're going to be the energy capital of the world, okay? On January 26, President Biden inexplicably announced an indefinite ban on pending LNG export projects. A ban that could stretch past the November election. A real impact that will actually could cause hurt and pain here in Port Arthur, Texas. And that's why we're here today. That's exactly why we're here today, to highlight what this ban means for Southeast Texas, to highlight how exporting LNG leads to lower prices, how more family-sustaining American jobs, lower emissions, and positive economic prosperity for local economies and our state economy, and our whole nation for that matter. When we export LNG, we do all these good things, and a ban simply hurts and prevents those from happening. About 10 miles down the road, Port Arthur LNG, which broke ground on March of 2023, is on phase 1 of construction, which equals 3 things: jobs, jobs, jobs. The permitting process these facilities have to go through takes years. It is burdensome and absolutely way too much bureaucratic red tape. And now when they start phase 2, their permits may be held up to do this ban. Unbelievable. Port Arthur, that'll hurt what's been going on, or is going on. Golden Pass LNG has been victim to an LNG ban during the Obama days. Some of y'all remember that. They could have already been exporting LNG, but the ban put up a massive delay. Folks, America has the largest supply of clean, affordable, and reliable natural gas in the world. Building more LNG terminals and exporting this energy ensures economic growth, environmental improvements, and security around the world. So why does it seem that certain administrations seem to be hell-bent on destroying this industry? It's beyond me. So I just want to close by saying, for the President of the United States to make a statement like he's making today about domestic energy, and that LNG will no longer be permitted, You won't be allowed to do it in the future. We're going to cut back on your permits. Why in the world would anybody stay in this business and say, I think I have a shot? With that kind of prohibition against LNG coming from the highest office in the land. We're talking about jobs. We're talking about American energy. We're talking about clean energy. We're talking about the future of the greatest nation the world has ever known, and the fact that she does not have to depend on anybody else in the world for her energy. Nor would countries have to depend on Russia for their energy when they can actually get it from their friendly neighbors here in America. Our allies could actually feel safer and get better energy. Did you know that in 2023, we finally surpassed the long-standing leaders of exporting LNG, Qatar and Australia? We did. Because Freeport LNG on the other side of my district came back online and exporting once again. So when we are finally at the top of our game, and we have two other facilities right here that are building and getting ready to permit export more LNG to our allies. For our allies to heat their homes, for them to generate electricity cooking, and for everyday life. That's what we're offering here, a way for our allies to do that. And President Biden's saying, to hell with it. LNG facilities that are building right now, just stop what you're doing. Stop dead in your tracks. It's ridiculous. It's hurting my community, costing thousands of good jobs. We should be encouraging and ensuring that allies around the world can rely on American energy and that we have the jobs that are going to make that happen. That is cleaner. We're doing this cleaner than any other country in the world. So, Mr. President, if you're listening, stop this war on American LNG. Let these facilities produce, continue the permitting process, let them enter into trade agreements and encourage the industry. Encourage the industry instead of tearing it down. And if you want your climate scientists or whatever you call them, look into the climate change impacts of facilities that do well on their own time and do that on your own time and not on the industry's time. Last time I checked, the clean natural gas is a major reason why the United States has reduced emissions, get this, more than any other country, Mr. President. The DOE has already studied the climate impacts of U.S. LNG exports, and their reports clearly show the environmental benefits. According to DOE, U.S. LNG exports are 41% cleaner than Russian natural gas, which is delivered to Europe. It's unbelievable. So it seems like the president did this without a rhyme or reason, just because he could and maybe wants to appease climate activists like Reps Jayapal and Senator Whitehouse, who decided to take a trip down to Port Arthur, my district, without inviting me. How curious is that? And they wanted to quote a place they want to call it toxic sites. Unbelievable. Our country runs on the energy industry. I'm not sure Jayapal or Senator Whitehouse would like to see a country without fossil fuels. My guess is they flew on a plane that used fossil fuels. My guess is they traveled in a vehicle that used fossil fuels. My guess is they use energy that's produced by fossil fuels. Don't come down here and telling us in Southeast Texas how you hate what we're doing down here. Fossil fuels power our country. They're an economic driver for our economy, and they keep our nation safe. This was a bad decision by President Biden, and I will always support our LNG facilities in our community. And with that, I will turn it over to our great speaker, Dave Phelan.
Thank you, Congressman Weber, for putting this together and for all the attendees. We had a very robust discussion earlier today from all the stakeholders across Port Arthur and Southeast Texas. And the Congressman is 100% correct. This was a bad decision. This was an ill-advised decision. Going back to January 20th of 2021, my second week as Speaker, another ill-advised decision from the same administration to shut down the Keystone Pipeline, which also ends in Southeast Texas. So this decision recently impacting Port Arthur LNG and Golden Pass LNG and right across the waterway, Cheniere Energy as well, LNG, it's starting to feel personal here in Southeast Texas. What starts here changes the world. We power not just the state, the nation, and the global economy. And that's what this chilling decision that's what it will do. It will have an impact on the stability of the global market, the national market, the state market, and of course, the Southeast Texas market. I urge the administration to rethink this. If you think a 10-month pause is not a big deal, you don't understand how these investment decisions are made. This 10-month pause could be a 10-year pause. What's it going to cost to build a facility 10 years from now? What's it going to cost today? The Semper LNG project is the #1 project in the United States of America in HD 21 in Southeast Texas. The #1 project in the nation being impacted by this pause is right here in Southeast Texas, right here in Port Arthur. This building right here behind these doors is a laboratory, a classroom to teach the next generation of oil and gas workers. The oil and gas industry pumped $26.3 billion into our economy in the state and local level just this past year. It's what builds your roads, your bridges. It's what funds your public education. It's what fills up our rainy day fund. And to demonize this industry that powers not just the state, the nation, the country, the world, it puts a roof over our head here in Port Arthur and all through Southeast Texas. It's just wrong. It's hypocritical. It's ill-advised. So I appreciate the very robust discussion that, quite frankly, we were in 100% agreement, everyone in the room, about how we need to move forward and try to get this opinion, this pause reversed. And I hope we have it much sooner than 10 months from now, because it's unacceptable. Thank you all for being here. Thank you, Congressman Webb. Appreciate it.
Thank you, Speaker. I'd like to give the great mayor of Port Arthur, Mayor Ortiz.
Thank you, Mr. Congressman. Well, first, I'd like to thank the Congressman Weber, our Congressman, my Congressman, for hosting this roundtable today, to our Speaker, my Speaker, Speaker of the House of Texas, Representative Phelan. We are blessed here in the city of Port Arthur to have the opportunity to become what I like to call the hub for LNG around the world. And what I would do at this juncture is I would pray upon the Biden and Harris administration to rethink its position on the decision of permitting and the ill effect that it would have on a community such as the community of Port Arthur, Texas. Right now, we have thousands and thousands of jobs that are here in this community now because of the LNG industry. If we are able to continue the growth, and even if in particular the Port Arthur LNG be able to continue phase 2 of its construction project, it would totally enhance the financial stability of our community. That in mind, and the understanding that there are other places in the world competing for what we have in Port Arthur, I would want the city of Port Arthur, its citizens, and all of Southeast Texas to band behind us. We do all that's necessary to support Congressman Weber, to support Speaker of the House, and ensure that something changes as far as this permitting process that we have going right now. Now, the last thing I'd like to say, Port Arthur wants to grow. Port Arthur has to grow. Port Arthur has had a relationship for 125 years with the petrochemical industry, with the petroleum industry. Fossil fuels, as far as I've been informed, will always be around. I don't think there's going to be an obliteration of the use of fossil fuels. And I don't think that there's going to be some ill effect on the environment because of the growth of LNG and Port Arthur being the export king of this LNG product for the entire world. So I stand in support of what Congressman Weber has done on today, what the House, Speaker of the House supports, and what each of you would support. Growth for the city of Port Arthur, economic stability for the city of Port Arthur, and jobs for the city of Port Arthur in the support industries as well as in the LNG industries. Because if we don't get it, a lot of industries will be ill-affected. So I thank you again for this opportunity, and we would pray that a change does come.
Well, thank you, Mayor. For the record, of clarification, the Mayor wasn't here all 125 years that Port Arthur was around. But we do appreciate his leadership, along with Dave Phelan, speakers of the House leadership. So with that, I would open it up for any questions. Yes, ma'am. The letter that we sent to the president, we have laid out our case on how important this is. And you didn't, were you there during the roundtable? You get to hear this part. Not only is it important for the citizens of Port Arthur, the Southeast Texas, which is my favorite place in the whole world. I tell people, kind of like Ronald Reagan said, I don't think Southeast Texas might not be in heaven, but we're pretty much in the same zip code. And so we love that. It's going to have an impact on Southeast Texas. It's going to have an impact on Texas. It's going to have an impact on Louisiana. All of the states that are producing LNG and want to produce more. And then more so than that, also the country, because our trade deficit that we have with a lot of countries, we can help with that with selling LNG. Our allies across the world need to be buying LNG from us and not the Russians. Nothing against Qatar, right, or Australia or some of the others, but we'd much rather them be buying from us because it means jobs, and actually it means not only national security for us, it also means international security in the world. And I don't know if you've seen this, but the world is on fire right now. And right now, the last thing we need is our allies to feel uncertain about energy from the United States, thinking, are we really going to be there for them? We need to know that they can count on us, reliable, we're dependable, we're affordable, and they can count on us. So it means a whole lot. Any others?
Is there an estimated cost for this pause, what it's doing to the economy?
That's something that we discussed in there with the three facilities. It just depends on how long it goes, where they are in their initial phase, what the cost of money is. And so we don't have an estimated cost in terms of the dollar amount, but I did just now lay out the cost of jobs here, the cost for Texas, all of not only Texas, but the other lesser 49 states. And the fact that it's going to be impactful around the world and not in a good way. So there's a pretty substantial cost. Thanks for the question. And with that, we will conclude this. Thank you very much.